God. Oh, yeah, I forgot to ask. We're recording now, but is it me that intros this one? What episode are we on?
It's episode 16.
Right, cool. Well, welcome to Fit With Us episode 16. Today we have Gary and we also have special guest Emma. I was introduced to Emma about 30 seconds ago. So we're going to allow Emma to introduce herself. Emma, who are you? What is happening?
I'm Emma. I am a PE teacher, slash PT slash online coach slash gym instructor
Class.
slash mum. So yeah, I've got a wee boy Lockie who is 2. And yeah, I'm currently pregnant with my second. So yeah, and yeah, I've always been into like health, fitness. I come from a very sports background, so netball was my sport, my competitive sport. I played to quite a good level, and yeah, from there I just kind of follow through with training and studying to kind of get the knowledge on exercise and fitness to support health and functionality. And here we are.
Gary, you picked a good guest today. Emma, you can say.
I'm just going to go back to bed and let Emma take over here.
Well, you should probably tell people who are listening and watching, because you're not in your normal background, Gary. Where are you and what are you doing?
We are currently in Portimao in Portugal, and it's a business trip. So basically, yeah, both me and Emma are coaches for Fraser Reynolds, who is very popular online. He's got like what 1.5 million followers, Emma?
Yeah.
Spoiled.
On Facebook, yeah, huge following, and Instagram. He's also got a book. He's just got a wee book out.
It was a Sunday Times bestseller. So yeah, so we help him coach his clients because he's got an online group. So he's flown all his coaches out just as a wee kind of business trip, thank you, sort of thing. And it's lovely.
Very good. Very good.
You're playing a glorified version of what, tennis yesterday or something, right?
Paddleball, right? It's paddleball, or just paddle. I think, I don't know.
Can I be kind of that Gary called it paddleboard at one point, and we were like, Gary, that's surfing. That's a form of like surfing. So yeah.
I literally said to him just there, I was like, I'm assuming it's on water, and he's like, no, you didn't. I'm like, well, sure, if you explained it better, we be shite at straights.
Our wee sheltered brains thought it was just one thing. But it was good fun, mate. It was good to run about, but I'll tell you something, my lats are killing me today from all that swinging.
You were kind of domsy.
I was domsy yesterday, and now it's just intensified today.
So what I'm getting from this is you're away in Portugal and you're sore from swinging. That's all I heard from that story.
Moving on. So, but if I sound different today, it's because I've not got my microphone. And if you're watching, if my camera is like, actually looks quite good, the camera. It's because I've not got my normal camera.
Cool. If you sound funny today, it's because you were on the Superbox last night. You've been called out. Yeah. I
was on the Superbox last night. I also had some sort of whiskey cocktail, and then went back on the Superbox because it was too much. What the fuck have I done here?
I'm not going to have any.
I'm not having today.
I'm not going to have any more today. But I was at letting the sun out today, so just yeah.
He's not having any more, but he's not having any less either.
No, no.
If I could, I would.
Zero. Right, well, I'll have one for you then.
Yeah, you just
There we are, sorted. Right, cool. So
Faz is a bad influence. What I want to know, just before we dive in, how do you manage all your jobs with kids, working full time as a teacher? How do you manage it all? Because that is a lot of fucking things to take on.
I don't know, Gary. I've always been, I don't know if high functioning is the phrase, but I've always been like, I need to be stimulated all the time. I'm not someone that like, from like the most kind of basic level, I can't really sit and marsh that much. I really can't. I need to be up and about, and it's not really like, again, I don't know if it's been because when I was younger, my mum and dad were so amazing, like putting us into clubs, sports. So actually our days were like filled with school, and you were literally picked up, taken to something else, then to another club. You know, we were constantly on the go. So I don't know I've always kind of had it in me just to be really busy. But I mean, don't get me wrong, it can be like too much sometimes, especially see now with the wee boy, because your priorities totally change. So you have to learn to prioritize. Well, he is the main priority, but see, you just have to be quite good at time managing. Sometimes I'm really not. I don't manage it well at all. Like, you know, I'm still awake and try to do things at like 11, half 11 at night, to plan for the next day. So yeah, but some, like we spoke about this yesterday, my teaching job, like my PE teaching job, it's very set and structured. So like that part of the day is pretty, like, it's ran for me. Whereas like my gym classes, PT and coaching is quite flexible. So it's manageable in the sense that like I can arrange it to suit what's happening, but it's mental. It's mental.
We've got it tough, Tyler.
It is mental.
Do you
But
find it hard to relax?
yeah, I really do. Even like, this sounds really like, see, even at night time, Kyle, if I have, let's say I get in sort of Tuesday, for example, or a Monday. So a Monday, I teach before school, I go to school, I teach after school, I come in, sometimes I try to pick up on like questions and whatever, for coaching. And then maybe I'm sitting at like 9, half 9 at night, and I'm like, right, okay, I'll have half an hour, 45 minutes before I go to bed. And I sit and I'm watching the telly and I'm like, what else can I be doing? Like, what else can I be doing? It's so bad. But see, normally at that point, I just go to bed.
Me and Kyle spoke about this many times before, but I struggle to find the disconnect from work life and relaxing, and it's just constantly, I feel guilty when I'm enjoying myself. I'm like, I should be working.
It is hard. It is hard. And then see, it's like, now see, on days off from work, I try to fill them for Lockie. So like, make sure that he's, I mean, maybe I'm just creating me. I'm like making sure he's like, we're doing this, we're doing that, we're doing this. People like, just give me some time to chill and watch Bluey on the telly.
He's the only 2-year-old in history that just wants to sit down and relax.
So I spoke to quite a few parents about this. Obviously, I say obviously, but like Jen, my wife's pregnant as well, so I'm going to be a dad for the first time that I know of in June.
That I know of.
That I know of. I'm still waiting for that door to knock at some point, but yeah, but I'm going to be a dad for the first time in June. But like, coaching parents for like the last 10 or 12 years, one of the things that comes up, particularly for people who, a bit like yourself, just constantly go, and very driven, is the ability to switch off is just, it's not really there. But one of the things I constantly hear is switching on to something else. And again, a lot of the time it can be your kids themselves. So like actually utilising like a day, and as you said, filling your diary up with things that you can switch on to that aren't work is your way of decompressing. So obviously that's the way that you try and manage things like that. Fair to say, yeah? Yeah,
oh, totally. And there's some, you know, a lot of people, like, I can't remember where I've seen this, but there was a couple that online that I was like, oh my God, this makes so much sense. And they were saying that, you know, one of the however many days they have off with their kids in the week, they make it very child-centered. So very about like, you know, things like soft plays, arts classes, sports clubs, whatever. But then on the other 3 day, the kid comes with them to something that they would do. So like if they, for example, like getting out trail walking, or even like a walk around the shops, or they want to go for lunch. And so it's kind of like your kids come along with you, but it's something that you would enjoy doing without the kid there anyway. But it kind of makes it like, it's a really lovely family time, but you're not doing the full like manic soft play, which can be so stimulating, by the way. Oh my God, 1 hour, I swear to God. What's the Chinese torture where they have like noises in your ear? It's be like a wave of like, you sit in the car and you're like, what the fuck just happened? Like, what's, like, there's just things happening all the time. So things like that, like it's pretty knackering. But I think you need to make days in the week for your baby or your toddler or your kid comes with you to something. I think it's good for them as well, because then they have to learn to kind of fit into something else that maybe isn't all about that's obviously not all about them, but it's not so engaging for them as much as their normal activities would be.
No, Kyle.
No, I'm taking note. And yeah, it's funny what you said there about obviously like having to target it towards what you want to do as well and incorporating children. But I was listening to like it was a segment of what Elon Musk was saying in the podcast, and he was saying that Disney are losing, like I think they've lost like 40% of their audience because Disney thought their market was children. Whilst that's inherently true, they used to target adults with their films because they were the ones in control of the of the TV. Whereas now, because they've tried to target it towards children's and kind of exclusively taken out the adults, that like they've lost literally 40% of their customer base in the last like 5 years, which is actually mad to think about. And you're like, yeah.
Wild, isn't it?
Makes sense. Like,
you do think back on some of the like Disney films, and you're like, some of them were absolute belters back in the day, and you didn't get it as a kid, but see now listening to and watching them, you're like, that's so funny. Like it's
you
so funny. Yeah, oh totally, and I love it. That makes sense though. But yeah, so Kyle, you need to have a day with the baby and your wife, and just do something that you guys would do, but with the baby there.
I've already got it planned. So the baby is due on the 1st of June, but Scotland kick off to Germany on the 14th of.
Yes.
So the plan is I'm going straight to the pub with this baby strapped to me, and that's that's what's happening.
Straight to Germany with the baby strapped to you.
I've tried to say that to Jen yesterday. I was like, look, if we go in early because she's diabetic and stuff, and we were possibly looking at maybe May. I was like, if we go in early, do you reckon there's any chance? And she's like, absolutely fucking not. And I was like, oh well,
Well, my husband is going away for that week, and so this is he booked it even before like we knew we were having a second. So I'm due in August, and I was like, Sandy, see like your little trip that you're going away for a week and a bit, because they booked like the full it's like a tour they're going on. I was like, you do realise that like I'll be like out to here with a mental, I mean Lockie's mental as it is, with a mental nearly 3-year-old. Yeah, it'll be fine, you know, you can just get your mum involved and your sister. And I was like, you're an arsehole. No, he isn't. He honestly, and there wasn't even a moment of, oh my, that might be quite a lot. He was just like, actually, he did say, he was like, it's fine, you like being busy.
Fair enough.
On one hand, some people would call him an arsehole, on the other hand, some people would call him a hero. It's
absolute genius.
And when I spoke to him, he's like, hero.
Superb.
We work with so many people in the 12. Just touching back on the time thing as well, we work with so many people in the 12X coaching program that always say, I don't have time. I've got kids, my job, I work full time, I've got kids, blah blah blah. But we always say to them, I always say to them, time is, you said it to me as well, okay, time is taken, not given. So it's very, very important that you schedule in time for yourself, stick it in your diary, and then treat it like you would treat a meeting with your boss. I know that gets thrown around a lot as well, but genuinely treat it like you would treat a meeting with your boss. Do not miss that you time, because it's going to be very important just for your mental state. Never mind everything else. Like, if you're not mentally stable because you're not giving yourself enough time, then that's going to pass on to your children and stuff as well. Does that make sense?
Yeah, mate,
I definitely think, see, like, if as busy as I am with work, I prioritise my training for myself, you know, just as much as I would like allocating time to other things. And I do think to myself sometimes, and I genuinely believe this, the only way I can manage what I do in a week is because I've got a 1 hour training slot a day. 100%. I'm saying a day, minimum 3 days a week. But then I think a lot of people, especially with kind of fitness or try to exercise and stay active, they think it has to be like super structured. Whereas I wrote a post about this a wee while ago about being consistently inconsistent. So you can be actually over the space of like a week, a month, a year, really consistent, but actually not be consistent, like not have consistent training days. Or 1 week you might get 2 training sessions in, and a one walk. The next week you might get 4 training sessions in, but no walks. The next week you might get 0 training sessions, but 2 walks, you know, but actually you're being consistently aware to fit in something. It does
move.
Yeah, just move. Any movement is good movement. And I think especially where we've seen clients, you know, I've got kids, I've got this. We try and say to them, make sure that you're doing something.
Yeah.
You know, even if it's 20 minutes, and it doesn't have to be the same day every week. If that's something that works for you, do it. But I know with me, life is life with kids. You need to be adaptable.
I think a lot of people think exercise has to be intense as well. They don't realise like going for a slow walk, just 20-30 minutes on an incline walk at a reasonable pace, or even just a 20-30 minute session in the gym. You don't need to go in, jump about like a fucking maniac, sweat buckets, just move.
Yeah.
Lift heavy weights, go for a walk, and just move.
Yeah.
That's as simple as that, but it's obviously trying to not find the time, because we do have time to do this. You just need to make the time to get it done.
It's what's imperfect action, isn't it?
Imperfect action, aye.
That's something that I think that a lot of like people that we speak to struggle with, though, is I think even though we really drill it, don't we, that you know, we're not expecting perfection. Even, you know, we do these check-ins every week where there's a lot of questions on their week, and we say all the time, we're not expecting you to have literally a perfect score sheet, a perfect sheet of yes, this was great, because yes, some people might manage that maybe live by themselves, don't have any pets, don't have any kids, don't work. Like, yeah, they might be able to do that, but not everyone has. Everyone's got the same 24 hours, but everyone's 24 hours is shaped differently.
Yep.
And I think if you can accept that you shouldn't compare yourself to someone else who has the same 24 hours as you, then I think people will be a lot less self-critical.
Oh, aye. We're our own worst enemy. Like,
Yeah.
our own worst critique. And I've said this in the group before as well. Like, totally lost my train of thought there. Fuck. Totally lost my train of thought there. Oh my God.
Super box, mate. That's what super box is.
Oh my God, my head just stopped working there.
I know we have said to people, you cannot compare yourself.
Your journey is yours alone. That's what I was going to say.
You can't compare yourself to others, because it just, as much as other people can relate to you with certain things, you're your own person. You've got your own life, the influences in your life, the support network you've got. It's also different, and that's what makes time management for certain people really difficult, because they might not have, for example, just from my point of view, my husband trains as well, so we almost like tag in, tag out. So like if I come in, he goes out to the gym, and we kind of work it that we have childcare, but we kind of sacrifice time with each other through the week, because otherwise it wouldn't work. But if you didn't have that, you don't have the same opportunity of time.
The way I see it is like if I had somebody coming in the door who's a 20-year-old with no responsibilities, the way I would set up, regardless if their goal's the same as like a 40-year-old with very different responsibilities, has children, whatever, the way I'd set them up, regardless of like goal being the same, would be very different, because their demands and what's expected of them each and every week and what their priorities are to a large extent are going to be very different. So you can't just give the same plan and same structure to the same people and expect the same outcome.
Aye.
Definitely.
Absolutely.
And I think that's what makes really good coaches, is that, you know, you can be so understanding and almost sympathetic to someone that maybe just doesn't have the time to train 3 days a week, you know, for an hour at a time. Like, as a coach, can you manipulate the time that they allocate? Could it be a 20-minute here and a 10-minute? You know, how could you help and support that client by offering a different structure compared to someone that, you know, like you were saying, Kyle, like a 20-year-old with no responsibility. And I remember a couple of girls that I went to uni with, they do CrossFit.
Yeah.
And we were talking about like performance accomplishments, like they were competing and stuff like that. And one of the girls was like, I'm just so tired all the time. And she was talking about this younger girl who's like 16. She's shooting up weights and she's doing this. I was like, but you work full time. She's very similar to me. You've got a second job, like after school, but she was very stuck in, but how is her weights going up and mine's aren't? And I'm like, but look at like your week. Look at how much rest you get and don't get. Look at how stimulated you are every day in comparison to this other girl who doesn't have the same commitment and ties to you as you. But it's very hard to not get sucked into that, and it is. It's very hard.
Even your ability to recover when you're 16, sure, you could go out on the sesh and then just be absolutely fine the next day. You didn't know what a hangover was until you're about 25. Like,
Pretty sure I could go. I can go into sesh like 4 or 5 times a week when I was a teenager and still make it to work on time, still go to college on time. Aye, and function, survive on 2 hours sleep. I had a few super box last night and I am fucked today.
yeah, mate, I had this conversation with another PT the other day, and I was like, I remember when I had like the first couple of clients, like in my late teens, and they were saying to me, it was like, oh, let's say I booked them in for Friday and they knew I was going out on the Thursday night, and they were like, oh, you sure you can come in? And I was like, I didn't even think twice about it. I was like, yeah. No. Nowadays, I'm like, oh, no chance, no way, I'm there.
What would you do? Would you rearrange the client or would you cancel the night out?
Yeah, I wouldn't be seeing the clients.
Like, I'm cancelling the night out. I'm out. That's it. I'm out.
I'd text everybody, by the way, I've got a client in the morning, I can't commit today.
I'm like, any excuse for a night in, I'm like, yes, give me it.
I was actually saying that to somebody else yesterday. I was like, the last time that I was out, like outside of being on a stag or whatever, but out in our local town was 2020, just before, it was a weekend before lockdown kicked in, because I remember Jen and I were at like 2 o'clock in the nightclub. We're hearing about COVID happening, but there's no chance that's going to happen. Then the following week, everything shut down. I've not been out past 11 o'clock or 12 o'clock, like since then, like years ago.
But I was going to stay you on your stag do.
That's, yeah, fair enough.
Anyway, that was class, that wee segment there. That was cool.
Yeah,
There's a saying that I stole for Kyle as well, and I use it in the 12X group. Thank you, Kyle. And it's stop aiming for perfection rather than having kind of 5 or 6, 10 out of 10 weeks across the space of the year. We would rather you had 52, 6 out of 10 weeks.
Totally.
And you're going to see so much progress, because if you feel like you're failing, if you're not doing a 10 out of 10, then you're not going to get anywhere.
Yeah, definitely. And there's not that pressure of there's not that pressure on yourself of this chasing perfection. And I think that's where overwhelm happens really easily with clients. And I'm saying with clients, with us as well. Like, if you, even from like a business point of view, a coaching point of view, if you're constantly chasing like you're like 100%, your burnout happens straight away. So I think it's a totally sustainable way of putting measures in place to be successful, rather than I'm all in.
I think a lot of the time, one of the things that gets people's way are their general perceived how they feel that they're doing. A lot of time can be unrealistic expectations. It is a case of actually setting the tone, because there's sometimes where I look at someone's data and go, like, let's say you've lost 2 or 3 kilos in 3 weeks, and they're like, oh, is that enough? I feel like I should be losing more. And I'm like, you fucking talking about? Like, it is about setting that expectations, but then on the same time, they've given themselves a 4 out of 10 week, and I think you actually need to look at what we're looking for and what's not. But then on the other side of that kind of coin, there are people who ultimately they don't get to where they want to be. But the big thing, as Gary just touched on, is if they rate their week a 4 out of 10, I'm like, right, well, how do we get to a 6 out of 10? I'm not looking for 10 out of 10, but what steps can we take? And it is, Emma, as you said, like, is it the fact that we can, instead of doing a 45-minute workout, can we in your lunch break actually just go for a walk? Can we do that 5 days a week? Does that bring you up to 6 out of 10? Class, okay, 2 weeks time, we might start ramping things up and seeing if we can get a workout done. But I think just trying to get to those consistent 6 out of 10 weeks, jobs a good one.
Definitely.
Getting to the 6 out of 10 weeks that people seem to have an issue with, they see that as failing.
Yeah,
I think it's the acceptance from people that a 6 out of 10 week over a year, your progress is going to take technically a longer amount of time, but in the long run, it's more sustainable for each individual within their own life setup. Like, again, you're avoiding burnout, you're avoiding being stressed, you're avoiding being overcritical of yourself because you're not hitting X, Y, and Z. Like, so yeah, I think even though you would, you would try and encourage that in clients, you don't have to be perfect, but then it's almost like you have to then kind of bring that in and say, but listen, you also need to accept that with that, this process might take a little bit longer for you to reach whatever goal it is you've got. However, you're not going to feel like you've failed in any way. You're because you've got that acceptance of, well, this is going to take a bit of time.
It's much more manageable as well.
Oh, yeah.
It's just the acceptance. People come into a program, they pay a personal trainer, and they want to see changes in 12 weeks. They want to lose 30 pounds in 12 weeks.
Yeah.
You didn't gain 30 pounds in 12 weeks. How the fuck are you losing 30 pounds in 12 weeks? Do you know what I mean?
I remember when there was one client in particular had said, I think she'd lost 4 pounds in 2 weeks. And she said, I just thought I would have seen a steeper drop in the scale. And I was like, but you've lost 2 pounds a week, which is a pound every half week, if you look at it like that, which is amazing. Like, you don't want to, like, I would argue you don't want to be losing any more than that over the course of like a longer sustained period of time, because again, you're going to hit a wall at some point where you might not, that might not happen, so you're going to be a bit disappointed. But yeah, that client in particular was like, I think I need to drop my calories.
What were you going to say there?
No, I was literally just going to say, I think we're all predispositioned to want more. I often say to people, it's like, if I gave you £1 million tomorrow, you'd feel great, but in 2 weeks' time, you want more. Like, it's always like, we're all predispositioned. I'm not giving them £1 million, but it is a case of we're all predispositioned to want more. So if you lose 2 kilos, it's like, right, well, where's the next 2 kilos coming from? Like, it's always about what's coming next, rather than sometimes being reflective in the sense of, right, I've got a guy currently who's lost like 22 kilos, and he's in his head. It's great, but he's now past the point of enjoying that. Like, I mean, he's had a week or two where he's like, that's his class, but he's now going, well, I'm now stuck. And he's not stuck, it's just going slower. And he's wanting the next 20 kilos. I'm like, mate, come on. Like, we've lost. I'm not saying you're done, but at the same time, like, it is going to go a wee bit slower. And like, the point of where you are right now is very different to the point you started at. Your lifestyle is very different. Like, things do get a little bit harder. The drop rate's a little bit less at this point, but it is just wanting more, isn't it?
Yeah, totally.
All the time. Like, he's not looking at where he's come from. He's looking at where he is now and where he wants to be, rather than what he's already achieved. And that's a problem that most of us have. I'm guilty of this as well, Kyle. Kyle's talked me out of many a meltdown, so he has. Because obviously Kyle's my coach as well. So I've went through an extremely intense fat loss phase for a photo shoot. I'm now trying to go the other way and put muscle on, and so it's just a bit up and down. So all my emotions and stuff are out of place. But that's what us as coaches do. Like, we help you get through those kind of sticky situations, if that makes sense. And Kyle's been there for me, more than I care to admit, to be fair.
I think for you as well, mate, though, and I think that goes back to it, is at times where you feel you're floundering, and again, similar to the amount of stress that's going on, not being able to actually see the bigger picture and zoom out, you're kind of sometimes, like, again, guilty of I've got my own coach as well, like, but we're all guilty of seeing the minute parts of this is what's happened Thursday to Sunday and I fucked it, rather than actually looking back. And when we actually looked at the data for yourself, mate, it's like you feel like your body weight's gone way up, and you feel like you're puffy, and you feel like you've made no progress in the gym, whereas we look at it and it's like you've added like 40 kilos to your predicted 1 rep max in your deadlift, with your body weight's more or less the same as what it was. Your body composition, when we compare the pictures in the cold light of day, you're looking far better now at the moment. But I was like, when you're feeling emotional about things, you feel like the world is falling apart, like
100%, and it feels like why always me?
Do
you know what I mean? And it's hard as well. Like, see, when you're feeling like that in yourself, I don't know if you've ever experienced it, but it's then hard to say to people as well, look, this is what you need to be doing.
Yeah.
even when you can't do it on your own, and it's like you're kind of stuck in this horrible kind of, what's the word I'm looking for? Just going round and round.
Yeah.
Me telling,
Like a circular cycle. Yeah.
me telling people like, look, this is what you need to do. Focus on this, and then me feeling the exact way that the client said they felt.
Yeah,
and
but
knowing,
you're not taking
Aye.
on almost like your own advice. Yeah.
and knowing that's why I always go to Kyle straight away. I like his phone must be red hot with the amount of times I message him. It's a shame.
I've got 2 phones now just to make sure.
The burner phone.
The burner phone.
SIM
But then
card in
I
a sock.
think the emotional side of it, like, or when you hit kind of maybe clients that hit plateaus, either with fat loss or maybe like performance wise, in the gym, I think it's you then become a coach in a slightly different way, because it's not just about like the ticky boxes to achieve fat loss, or have you done this, 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 and this in the gym to increase your weight, you know, all the kind of the literal steps, the physical steps that they have to go through. You're now coaching them through, you are going to hit a plateau, and you're going to feel this way, you're going to feel that way. So emotionally and mentally, it can be a pretty hard knot, especially like you were saying, Kelly, your client that has had this massive weight loss and maybe a really kind of gradual decline, and he's now hit that sticky point where he's so used to feeling accomplishment, and you know he's thinking, yes, he's been on the decline, but actually the process that he now has to go through is how he copes with that sticky point without throwing the towel in, or without getting frustrated with himself. Like, and it's back to this full, you have to trust the process of it. But that's easy said when when the scale's coming down, or if the scale's going up, you know, whatever your goal is. But when the process then isn't showing you the results that you're maybe used to, you then think, oh God, it's like, how, as a coach, it's very hard to keep people in the right mindset to keep going.
I love it. I'm going to use a buzzword right now because I think what you've just touched on is where this comes from, motivation. And I think a lot of people, when they get to this point, they start to lack motivation. That word will start to crop up quite a lot. And I always say motivation is something that when the scale's going the right way, when you're feeling great about yourself, when things are going the way that perceived meant to be going, motivation's high, you're inclined to do it, but motivation always comes on the back of action. Like, it's not the other way around. If you wait for motivation, you're lying in your bed watching Netflix going, one day I'm going to wake up and feel differently. It's not what happens. You need to force it to start off with. And again, what you touched on there is, like, I say this quite a lot as well. It's like bodybuilders, whilst I don't work with any of them, they are great at just getting their head down and following the inputs regardless of the output. They literally just go in, whatever it is, a fasted cardio, whatever you do when you're a bodybuilder, right? But they just go in and do the inputs. And ultimately, the output reflects itself, and there's very little self-sabotage on that. Whereas I would say, in my experience with clients, when they get to a point where things start to slow down, and then it's like they don't feel that motivation anymore, this is where the self-sabotage comes in, and all of a sudden it's like, the scales haven't moved Monday to Friday, so do you know what? They're far more likely when a partner, a friend, a family member says, do you want to go out? Do you want to have a takeaway? Do you want to, instead of going for the option they would normally go for, it's like, do you know what? Fuck it, I'm going to have this. And then that's a slippery slope, whereas on Monday they'll wake up and their scales, whilst they've not put on massive amounts of body fat, the scales are in higher, and they're like, oh, well, I've really fucked it now, and it just becomes this big
it's then like this downward spiral of,
motivation's a wee dick.
Motivation is a wee dick, and
that's my saying no matter.
So okay, well there's a question for both of you, because it would be fair to say, both being coaches and both doing this for a while, both of you, right or wrong on this, you've probably lacked motivation at times. Would that be fair to say?
Oh, absolutely.
Oh, totally.
100%.
How do you get yourself out of that rut?
By just fucking doing it.
Yeah, I would never not go to the gym because I couldn't be arsed.
Yeah,
I kind of find that see the sessions that you do when you're not motivated, you get more out of it.
Totally.
You actually come away from it.
You leave thinking, I just did that.
Yeah.
Like I just did it. And I think sometimes you need to have that acceptance of the sessions that you can't be bothered doing. Like sometimes I go and I just do what I plan to do. I rattle it out. there's other times where I think I can't be bothered, or I'm tired, or my body feels fatigued, whatever. But I'm like, do you know what? I'm gonna go. I'm gonna change what I've planned. I'm gonna do something different, but I'm still moving. So for me in my head, I might not leave thinking, right, I've just done exactly what I planned, but I've left thinking, I feel so much better after moving. Like I feel so much better.
It doesn't need to be high intensity. Like, see, if you're going in every week and trying to progressively overload week on week, you're going to hit a point where you just feel fucked and you can't be bothered doing it. Just go in, drop your weights back a wee bit, have a bit of a deload, and just go through the motions. You're still moving, you're still lifting weights, you're still doing something. You don't have to be jumping about your living room like a fucking pansy, doing burpees for an hour to feel like you're exercising. Do you know what I mean? Just move. And if you're waiting to feel motivated to do it, chances of you getting a lot done are very, very slim. You need to, like Kyle says, motivation comes from action. Force it for the first week or so, and then you'll start to build a wee bit of momentum off the back. Yeah,
You just go, don't you? You just go.
And then the motivation will come back. And then I'm not going to lie, it's going to drop again because everybody's motivation drops. You don't have it forever. It's about how disciplined you are to get through these wee lulls in motivation.
And that's what I think sometimes you come back to the time management thing, because if you're someone like, so for example, for me, on a Wednesday is my day off from work, but it's the day that I have Lockie the full day.
Yeah.
And I made the decision, like, not long after Lockie was born, and I said to Sandy, I'm going to get up super early on a Wednesday because I know that once I woke up with Lockie really early, I've had the full day with him. I get him to bed at like 8:30 at night. So that's like a 14-hour, 15-hour day. I'm completely done. Like I'm done for the day. So in terms of me then trying to drag my arse to the gym and do that, that's probably not going to be a great session for me. Or in my head, I'm going to have to every week be like, right, come on. Like I'm having to talk myself in. Whereas I was like, no, I'm going to go really early in the morning. Like really early in the morning. I got up at 5. I'm in the gym for 5:30. So I'm back for Loki waking up. But that for me then takes it's a different sort of kind of motivation. I'm up anyway, so I may as well go in.
Yeah.
And then I'm not relying on later on that night me having to talk myself in. So I think it is, even though again we're talking about going back to what we're saying, everyone's day is different. If you're someone that then starts to struggle motivation wise, look at where in your week you feel most motivated.
Yeah.
Or where are you more likely to be like, do you know what, I'll just up and go? Or is it that after your work shift, you just say, I'm not even going home? No matter what's happened in your day, I'm not even going home. I'm going to the gym, and then I'm going back home, and that's me for it, for the day. And I think that's where you can almost manipulate your day to suit when you're more likely to be motivated.
Yeah. And see, even sorry, on you go, Kev.
No, fire up.
I was just going to say, like, even for us coaches, it's still a kind of guessing game and trial and error until we find out what's for us as well. Like I'm struggling at the minute, and Kyle knows this. Monday to Thursday, Monday to Friday, I'm fucking right. Let's go, let's have it. See, by the time I get to the weekend, I am wiped out. Monday, I don't train because it's check-in day for myself, my own clients, and 12X. Tuesday, I then start working in the gym, so that's when I start training. And what I do is I start in the gym at like 12:30. As soon as I get into the gym, I train, because if I sit down, I talk myself out of it.
Yeah.
So I'll train Tuesday, Wednesday, try and maybe take Thursday off because I'm usually fucking sore, or I'll do something like a reconditioning class. Or by the time I get to Friday, I'm already really tired. My mental bandwidth is giving out because of the amount of check-ins that we're doing, all the talking, all the working that I'm doing, and I'm kind of leading into the weekend to maybe try and kind of take my foot off the gas a wee bit. But by the time the weekend comes, I do not want to go near a gym.
Yeah.
So I'm struggling to get my 4 sessions a weekend at the minute, but it's not to say that I'm never going to get them in. I'm just trying to find at the minute what works best. So you've got to say something.
I was going to say, but you look back at again the last couple of weeks, you're far more consistent now with your gym, and even the way you're showing up in the gym, the numbers reflect that, because we've identified there's no point in leaving things to the weekend for you or putting the expectation on the weekend, because it's just not going to happen. But you've refined it to the point where you now know that you're most effective Monday to Thursday. So let's utilize that and put your sessions Monday to Thursday. Whilst we might look at it and go, that's not optimal, but you're also not like you're human at the end of the day. So it's still more than acceptable for us to train that way. And whilst your circumstances are what they are at the moment, like, let's capitalise on that. I always find the winter months personally for myself are tough. I'm definitely somebody who's meant to be born in a sunny country or something, but I think tough, and I use the motivation I have in winter time is very different to the motivation I would have in summer. I find it very difficult, but I use every trick in the book where I'll set an alarm and set it at the other side of the bedroom to force me to get up. I'll make sure that I'm utilising Google Calendar to force me, so that there's about 4 notifications to say you are walking, you're taking Rocky a walk at 6:30, and that's what's happening. And then like, I've literally penned everything in, so it's a checklist. So I don't have the more emotional decisions I think you have each day, or the more decisions you have each day to make, the more emotion you can bring into those. And when emotion
totally
out the window. So I always try and make sure that they're there in black and white. And whilst it's still not perfect, there are days where I went, fuck it, I am going back under the covers. It happens far, far less than like that would without it, you know?
And you know what? And see, the days that it does happen, it's fine. It's not going to ruin your progress. It's not going to set you back anything. See, if you want, if you're kind of stuck to your ticked as many boxes as you can for the past 2, 3, 4, 5 weeks, and you feel that you wake up one day and you're like, fuck it, I just don't feel like lifing today. Just have a day off. Like, you're allowed to. You're allowed to have a fucking day off.
And that's back to the full, like, and consistent. Like, because you then don't have to worry about having a day off. Because you know that over the bigger picture, you've put your steps in place, you've ticked boxes, and it's not going to ruin what you've done.
100%.
You know, or where you're going just by having one day or 2 days.
Last weekend, I just took everything away. Took the whole weekend off, from my phones, from my laptop, from the gym. And you know what? I came back on Monday and I was like, fucking ready. But because it was getting, I felt like it was getting too much for me. Like, I was feeling really weighed down. I was like, fuck, I've got all this to catch up on. I've got all my training sessions to do. And I was like, nah. I think it was you. Was it you and Kev that spoke me into it? Just take a weekend off.
Yeah.
And I was like, do you know what? I'm going to do it, and I'm going to stick to it. And see, if you do that and just stick to it and not feel bad and guilty about it, you'll come back a different person. Like,
it's a complete reset, isn't it? You've broken a rhythm that maybe wasn't optimal for you, you know, mentally, physically, emotionally. You just kind of broke it and reset. It's like turning the TV off and on. It's been, I'm just that. Turn off.
Have you tried turning it off and on again?
But please work.
It works.
Oh, you're like, oh, it's here.
But there's another thing. I think when you start to find things and how they make you feel as well, like actually looking at how you implement that long term. So Gary's case there, finding a weekend off that worked. Now, whilst it's probably not going to happen that Gary can take every single weekend off, there is a lot to be said in that, where what wasn't working for him before was working right through the weekend. And even if it was an hour of work on a Sunday, it still was work, which was taken away from the fact that he could feel he could decompress. So it's a case of utilising, right, we might not be able to get a full weekend, but can we get a full day every week? And that will give you enough of a recharge that you can start to go into next week. And it is about identifying those small things to, like, biohack.
100%. Even like one weekend a month. Just something that I can look forward to and completely switch off. Might even be one day a week, just something that works. But in this fitness game, it's all trial and error. It's all trial and error until you find out what's for you and then making it stick.
Excellently.
Yeah, I was going to say, I took, I've got Domino's Thursdays these days where I take 4 or 5 hours out on a Thursday. And I actually started playing, I'll never got a PlayStation 5 to play the Harry Potter game, Hogwarts, but I got it about 2 years ago, and I was like, I've played probably about an hour of it. It just sat there, and Gary and Rachel were saying to us that they were playing it. I said, I need to get playing that again. Anyway, Thursday just passed. I played it, and I was like, I realised how bad I am at video games again. Like, I've got a wee crashing into the trees and all that. I wasn't good. Like, so yeah, I don't know if it made me feel better or worse about myself, but I'll stay consistent with it. Like,
talk to me about how good the fucking game is, though.
It's good, mate. I was showing Jen my invisibility cloak. She was impressed. But yeah, no, it's good. Yeah,
Wait till you show your wand as well.
Wingardium Leviosa.
Fucking hell. We're not adults here anymore.
Speak
What
for
house are
yourself.
you in? What house are you in?
I went for Ravenclaw.
Oh, boo. What were you saying about your story there?
Don't
Sorry,
fucking
before we interrupted, we are bonding your house.
don't leave me hanging there. What house are you?
Slytherin, of course.
Gimp.
I feel like I don't know. I'm nice. I feel like I would like to be in Hufflepuff just to be able to say it.
I could see you being a Hufflepuff.
Just because I'm an idiot. Do you know? It just sounds like a wee fairy house that doesn't win anything.
I love how none of us have chose Gryffindor. Like nobody actually chose the good guys.
Oh, Gryffindors are annoying though. They're so annoying.
I know.
Apparently Hufflepuff has the best story. Apparently you go to the prison if you go as Hufflepuff.
Aye, Hufflepuff has got Azkaban in it.
Didn't know that.
I need to go Hufflepuff.
Right.
So I need to start again on the Switch and go Hufflepuff.
Right.
Okay.
I need to on this game.
I've barely started. I might just turn it off and on again, start as Hufflepuff.
Yeah, reset.
Stop, reset. I think Rachel's put something like 80 plus hours into it since Christmas.
Yeah, I messaged her. I sent her a picture of me playing it, and I was like, "How are you getting on?" She's like, "Oh, I've completed it. I've got 15% left to do in terms of finding things." I was like, "Fucking map's massive! Like, how
huge?" And see, you know, it's open world for us on PlayStation, but see on the Switch, it's not open world. So see, going into anywhere, it's a loading screen.
So she's playing it on Switch.
Aye,
I'm definitely going to. If she's done 85% of that on Switch with loading screens, there's no excuse for her not getting steps. She's got fucking
100%. Completely agree with you. But I see going into Hogsmeade and stuff, it's a loading screen going into every single shop. So yeah, she's put a lot of time into that, and most of it's been waiting. just load, literally just loading.
We're having words. There's words being had.
You have order because she doesn't listen to me.
Doesn't look like she's listening to me at the moment either. I might have to dress up as a wee Harry Potter character and speak to her in the check-ins.
Aye, she's just in Rachel land at the minute, honestly, God.
Right, cool. We'll move on from Harry Potter.
Aye, if you want to. We're sitting at 50 minutes. We could probably wrap it up if you want.
Right, sound, see you later. Thanks for coming.
Is there anything you want to cover before we head off? Because we need to go find Kathy, and I am fading fast here.
Are you? No, I was going to say my bladder was probably telling me that I need to get going soon anyway, because it wouldn't be the first time I've probably just wet myself on a podcast, but I don't fancy it today. But no, that was class. Thank you, Emma, very much for coming.
Listeners, where can they find you?
Where can they find me? Oh, I was about to say I'm in Portugal now, Gary.
So I live out in the middle of nowhere if you want to come for a cup of tea.
You want to stick your postcode down?
So if you want to come on the farm. But yeah, no, I'm on Instagram as Emma Moves.
Emma Moves.
Just I like moving.
Can they find you, Kyle?
I'm in Ireland, but otherwise, Biofitness88. Gary, where can they find you?
I'm also in Portugal, but Instagram, it's at gmac_health and fitness. I will link every single person's Instagram in the description of the show. I don't know why I'm pointing down because you can't see me on Spotify. I will link everybody's Instagrams in the description, so go find us all there. Thank you again, Emma, for joining. That was fantastic.
Thank you so much for having me.
Appreciate it.